I was 14, training to go pro in basketball. For 3 months, I trained every single day without missing a beat, so that eventually, someday, my dream might actually become true. So with my delusion and my huge ego, I decided for some reason to go tell every single person I knew that I was going to the NBA one day. I even told my principal, and I still remember as clear as day what happened when I told him. But before I tell you that, I should explain to you how this 5'2" 8th grader decided this is who he was going to be. It was the summer of 2020. Me and my mates would play basketball with each other at every break during school. And it wasn't very serious, but there was definitely a bit of competition between us. And I was horrible. I remember just how much I actually sucked at the game. Every single shot I threw up, it would just airball. And even still, for some reason, I loved the game and I loved playing it. After a lot of piss takes between me and my boys that were mostly aimed at me because of how bad I was at the game, I decided that I wanted to be better. So I started training every single day after school. I would get home and flick out my phone and I'd just watch YouTube video after YouTube video on how I could shoot from anywhere on the court, how I could dribble past anyone. And I even looked at videos of how to increase my vertical jump, which didn't make sense looking back on it now because I was 5'2" and 40 kilograms. What would me even having a 40-inch vert do? I was tiny, but I fell in love with the sport, even though I'd never actually touched a game court. So every single day I would lace up my shoes after I got home from school and I would do hundreds of reps of the fundamental dribbles. And I still sucked after 2 weeks. No matter how hard I was trying and how much I was pushing myself to even training 2 hours plus in 40 plus degree weather, I was still pretty bad. Every time I dribbled with my mates, I would either get the ball snatched from me or I'd just dribble onto my own foot. And it was pretty embarrassing. So I started to ramp up my training. I started to try and learn some more dribble combos and hopefully some layup entries so I could at least get in the D and make some sort of shot. Even still while doing all that, 2 weeks later, still I was a little bit better, but nothing actually changed that drastically. Yeah, I could go lay up and hit some shots, but I was getting swatted and just absolutely demolished anytime I entered the keyway, purely because I'm 5'2", and a 5'2" male against a guy who's 6 foot doesn't really go well when you're trying to play basketball because they will just swat just about anything you try to put up. Once I realized that my training wasn't really doing too much, I started getting really hungry. I wanted to learn and I wanted to finally get past all of my mates in the day and put up some good shots and actually make some instead of just getting swatted every time. So I asked my mum, hey, can you help me get into basketball? I really want to play this season. She agreed and I went into my bedroom and stalked every single basketball page on Facebook. But in the meantime, I kept training and I started to actually become a decent player at school and I was actually starting to make a few more shots than what I usually would. And it was a great feeling. I look back and I remember the times when I would run ones every break with my best friend at the time, Rory. He was nearly a full foot taller than me. So rushing at the rim or trying to go anywhere within the rim or the post was just not an option because he would pretty much stand there a lot of the time. But there was one thing I had up on Rory, and that was that I had speed. So I made up a game plan. I decided to try and rush into the D, make it look like I was going up for a shot. And then I would quickly try and step back and hit a shot at the elbow. It worked every so often, and sometimes it didn't. Sometimes it really just never worked out. He would sometimes swap me just because of how much the height difference was. And he was just so much taller than me, so sometimes it was pretty hard to beat him. When I look back at all those times in high school, I realized just how happy I was doing that because I think for me, basketball was a way to escape my life at the time because everything wasn't going too well. I wasn't talking to my dad. There were a lot of things going on with me at home and basketball was just kind of like this escape from my life that I could go do, and it was so fun. So some time goes by and this is where the basketball season is about to start actually kicking off. But here's the problem. I still haven't signed up after nearly 2 months of me training my ass off to try and become the best player I can be before the season starts. I'm not even signed up for a team, and I was so in shock because I thought my mum would handle it, but she also had a busy life, which I didn't understand when I was younger. And I had to scramble to try and get a spot on the team. So I kept searching and searching and searching, trying to send emails and trying to get somewhere. But little did I know, sign-ups had already closed and I missed my window. So once I found that out, I felt respectively quite crushed because it felt like my dream just slipped away. It was out of grasp now. But I told myself, no, I can just wait till next season and I can keep training in the meantime. So I'm training and training and training. I'm getting better. I'm getting a lot better. I start becoming an actual good player that people want on their team, at school at least. And I start feeling so good. My ego's pumped up. I'm just on a high that I've never been on before because it's actually working. Everything I've been working my ass off the last couple of months has started to pay off, and I'm starting to break people's ankles. I'm starting to hit crazy shots. Even with people being taller and faster and bigger than me, I'm able to get past them. So with my enormous ego and my puffed up confidence, I decided for some reason to go tell everyone I'm going to be an NBA player one day. But their responses weren't the things I wanted to hear. No one actually believed that I could do it, which is fair enough. Who could believe that a 40 kilogram, 5'2" 8th grader could push his way to get to the NBA? You have to be tall, you have to be gifted, you have to be athletic, and I wasn't any of those things. Yeah, I was somewhat athletic, I was fast, but that's all I really had. I was so small. And I remember one day I was in music class, it was 4th period at school. You know, me and my mates started talking about basketball in music, and we're just talking about a bunch of different things to do with it, like, you know, stuff that's happening in the NBA right now, how some players are performing. And then my principal walks in. Weirdly enough, he actually joins in on a conversation, and it's a pretty good conversation. You know, we're talking a bit about basketball. Do you mind? And then we get on. For some reason, with my inflated ego, I decided it's a good idea to tell my principal this. So I told him, I'm going to the NBA one day. And the expression he gave me was one of the most disgusting, looks I've seen a principal give me before. You know, instead of encouraging me and uplifting me to go chase my dreams, instead he just looked at me with this expression that just said, "What the fuck are you talking about?" You know, and then he just started laughing, and he said something along the lines of, "If you make it to the NBA, I will retire." And everyone else just burst into laughter. It was like it was the most funniest thing ever. But for me, that was the last straw. That's the thing that broke my dream. I gave up and I felt lost again. I felt directionless again because I didn't have a purpose to work on. So I played 2K on my Xbox every night and just didn't think about it. But why did I share this story with you guys? Well, I think the very important message here is that I had an inability to find my purpose when I was younger. I was so directionless and lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I had so many dreams before this one that ended the exact same way. I would get obsessed on it for 3-6 months and then I'd drop it and never touch it again. You know, and it was such a vicious cycle that really ruined my self-confidence, and I feel like I lost respect from my peers at school because of it. And it's something I just look at with regret, you know, and it took me years to finally find that formula of how to build a purpose that actually helps you and that you end up keeping for the rest of your life, not just this purpose that you obsess over for a little bit and then you let go and it flies away in the wind. I found the formula to find myself. And it was so simple that it was staring me in the face. But I just didn't think of it because we overlook those type of things, especially when we're younger. You know, we don't have enough experience to understand that. And that thing that I'm talking about is very boring. It's very simple and it takes a bit of time. But it is probably the most life-changing thing I've ever done. I grabbed a pen and paper and I sat down for a couple of hours, even I think it might have been 2 days of time, and I just looked within myself. I dug within all the shit to try and find who I was and what I wanted to be and who I was meant to be. And once I found that out, once I found who I was and I found my purpose, I became happy. I actually found something that I wanted to work on for a long time and I didn't want to rest on until I fulfilled it. So if I could leave one message for you guys to take from this video, it's to dig deep. Grab that pen and paper, sit in that room with no distractions, and just figure out who you are and who you're destined to be. And once you figure out that purpose and you work on it and you succeed and you fulfill that purpose, you go and find a new one. But that's a story for another time. I love you, boys. God bless.